Hi, everybody. Welcome to MindShifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, March the 10th, 2026. And I put the link to yesterday's show in the chat if you weren't able to be here. And that'll make it easier for you to pick it up, or you can just go to YouTube and it'll be one of the top ones on the list of videos. Appreciate everybody that was here yesterday. A few more people had said they were coming in, so we'll wait just a minute. So, Michael, you want to do an opening intro or announce maybe about the case of books or something like that? Yes?
Sure, there's lots going on here. we're kind of feeling like that old one-armed paper hanger with all that's going on with the work I'm doing on writing. It's all Greek to me, and gardens, and babies, and of course this new baby that Jeanie just launched that is starting to go wild. Somebody contacted and asked for permission to put it on Goodreads, and somebody else is asking for it. I mean, it's getting ready to take off. Several people have read it already and see the impact it's going to have. So I am very excited for you, Jeanie. I think you're going to make Why Is This Happening to Me Again look like Piker stuff. So that'll be perfect. And of course, the request we have, if you would assist the movement of the energy, is introduce it to people. I have actually, let me put in the chat a link to yesterday's show so that people can start out.
I've already done that.
Oh, well, that was fast. Honey, you're so quick. It isn't there.
Yeah, it is.
I don't see it.
It's in the chat room. It says yesterday's show and it has the link.
Huh. Well, it's not showing up on my on mine. So anyway, whatever that means. Anyway, whatever that means, if you would do us the favor of sharing this with someone, putting it in their hands, and just get the excitement going. And of course, if you haven't purchased the ebook yet on Amazon, please do that. And when you do that, please leave a 5-star review. And it's kind of strange because you can't get the you can't search on Amazon and find the book in digital form, the ebook yet. And I assume that's because, I know when I was working on Why Is This Happening to Me, I got to talk to several publishers and ultimately decided not to do that. But one of the things the publishers look for is, what's your audience? Can you, like the publisher saying, do I have to sell all the books, or are you out there doing it? So I suspect it must be Amazon saying, no, we're not even going to show you in your search results. If you do a search for the book or Jeanie's name, it comes up with the physical book, but they say not in stock yet, and they determine how many they're going to order by what happens with the ebook. And I think probably the fact you can't search for and find the ebook, you have to have the link. They're saying, okay, author, show us what you can do. Then we'll know how many books to buy. In any event, if you do that and send a review, then and the book is $9.95, the ebook. And if you do a review and you send that review to Jeanie with $18, she'll send you postage paid a copy of Healing Generations, One Breath at a Time.
And that offer is just through Friday, the 13th.
Through Friday. Yeah, that's the momentum building time for Amazon. So that's why we're doing that. So for a total of $18 plus the $10, so $28, you'll have the delivered book, physical book, plus the ebook. So go for it, sweetie.
I was just going to say, Susan mentioned in the chat room, she said we can review it on Goodreads. Yes, I already had 2 people this morning have asked about putting a review on Goodreads as well. So yes, go for it. And something that was really cool is Regina had put a review on Amazon and she was having trouble getting it up there. So she actually called customer service and she said, I finally got it through by a phone call, and the Amazon guy wants to read it. So you never know. Then, oh, that's you posting some notes on people asking questions
Yeah.
and where they can get information.
Yeah, the only limit on who this book is for, I mean, it would probably only appeal to about, I don't know, 7.5 to 8 billion people on the planet, and would change their lives dramatically. So, it's pretty exciting. Back when the movie Inside Out came out, I offered to folks on the radio show, if you remember, and offered on my Facebook page that book was the most important book in human history, or that movie. And the reason I take it this was the most important movie in human history is because it takes the very core principles that Yeshua taught 2,000 years ago in Aramaic and puts them into a format that a 4-year-old child can understand it. And Disney put it in who knows how many languages around the planet. Well, we're now to the next most important event in history, and that is the actual work of Yeshua in a format that anybody can take it, read it, understanding, and use it. You remember he talks about, he says to his close disciples, to you I speak truth. To others I speak in parables, for having eyes they do not see and having ears they do not hear. He didn't teach the core of it to everybody because they didn't want to hear it. And Jeannie's got a written record in a format that anybody can relate to and understand of exactly how Yeshua's first century Aramaic work is done. So I think that's pretty exciting, sweetheart. Nice work.
Thank you. I'm actually, believe it or not, I just started working. I'm using chat to help me on this project, but to create a workbook to go along with the book. So that'll be a little while in the making, but it's coming. So.
Yay.
Yeah, and I've had a couple people that have private messaged me on Facebook that are, interested in helping get it out there, and some of the reviews that went up on Amazon are fantastic, and thank you all.
Yes.
And, getting it through by the Friday, that the first week that a book is up kind of tells them what kind of interest is out there. So anyway. So are we ready to get started?
Let's go for it, honey.
Okay, so we did the first part, the foreword and the preface yesterday. And this first chapter is like an introduction to the book. And it's actually about the breath session that we talked about yesterday that I told you where this book actually started getting formed. So I want to ask first, because there are some pieces in this chapter that are graphic. If you are, if you would prefer me not to do that out loud, please let me know now. And if you're okay with it, maybe give me a thumbs up, or you've got a react button on your screen. You can put a thumbs down or whatever. Anita's thumbs up. Tammy.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay, thanks. Okay, and Susan Bingham, Michael. All right. So I'm going to go for it. So this one is
Breathing
titled,
with you.
Thank you. Oh, before I get started on that, Patrick McGann actually talked to us this morning. I was hoping he'd be on here so he could ask this himself. Do you have his text in front of you there that you could just read it, Michael?
Sure. Just give me a second. Let me get over to my texts, and I put it in archives. Let me go to the archives, and Patrick says, Patrick is, someone had asked, let's see, Julie asked about listening to the electronic book, which is not yet in existence. And so in response to that, Patrick asked, how much would it cost to do an audio? I would love to hear it in your beautiful, loving voice with your inflections and emphasis and the beautiful vibrational tones that come through. And so he then came back. We said, well, it'll probably cost $500 or so. And we're kind of tapped out at this point with just having about 1,000 books and getting us all together. So he says, I think also that the audio would be extremely healing as it has impacted me. Could we find out if anyone else is interested and see if we can split the cost and then sign whatever need to so that you can duplicate it for the whole world? So
that's something that may be coming too. I said, I don't know though, after yesterday reading and kind of breaking down a little bit, I said, I don't know if I could, we'd probably have to do 20 retakes for me to get through.
I think it would be perfect. I think that that's part of what touches people. And that's, the fact that you're willing to be vulnerable enough in a world where people do hate and fear and rage and murder in order not to feel, to demonstrate that someone can feel and breathe and move through it. It's something most people have never seen. So I think it would be perfect if you did it that way. And of course, you know that while you're reading it, I'll be right there with you to support you.
Okay. So this chapter is called A Life Remembered or Imagined. I breathe in through my mouth and I feel my lungs and chest expand. Now I let the breath fall out and let all the thoughts and feelings go too. Breathe in. Really feel every sensation and breathe out again. Wait, I realize I have stopped breathing. I must still be alive though, because I am experiencing fear and pain that are immeasurable. Yet I am outside my body watching the scene unfold. I can't or I don't breathe anymore. The white man's large hand is around my throat. I am pinned to the hard ground beneath me. I feel like my life is truly slipping away, so I'm no longer fighting, and my body goes limp. I hear the material of my dress rip, and I feel great sadness as it was the last thing that my mother had made me. He pushes my legs so far apart they pop, and my bones feel separated from my hips. His weight is so heavy on me that the little bit of air I'm able to pull in through my throat is forced out in a rush. Then he thrusts something into me, and it feels like fire burning between my legs and in my belly. I feel my skin tear, and I scream, but there is no sound because his hand tightens around my throat. Darkness overtakes me, and I am thankfully swallowed up by the nothingness. The bliss of death takes me away from this life. Then suddenly, gasping, I breathe in, but not so deeply. The man's hand is gone, but my throat hurts as my lungs expand once more. Breathe out. My whole body is throbbing in pain. Breathe in. I'm in a cage lying on the hard ground, and my legs are covered in my own blood. Breathe out. Why did I not die? I curl up and quietly sob. In the wind, I hear Techihila, Lakota Sioux words that mean I cherish you, which sounds like my dad speaking to me. This is the last time I hear my own language. Finally, sleep comes. As the morning sun rises, the man throws me some scraps of food left from his own plate. I try to eat, but it hurts to swallow. I curl up as small as I can and back into the corner away from the cage door. But he reaches in and he grabs my wrist. It hurts too much to struggle, so I give in. He allows me to wear my moccasins, but my dress hangs in shreds. He puts a rope around my neck and hooks it to the saddle so I cannot escape. Once he packs up camp, we begin the journey farther away from my home. I am so small in stature that I must run most of the time or risk falling behind the horse. My legs and hips ache. I am swollen and sore, and it's hard to keep up. Then I stumble. The horse does not stop, and the rope pulls on my neck. I grab the lead to keep it from strangling me outright. I am dragged a long way before the man finally stops the horse. I am allowed to rest for a few moments. I look at my hands and legs and see the scrapes and scratches, but the pain does not compare to what the white man did last night. Questions race through my child's mind. Why is this happening to me? The white man killed my family, and this one took me away from all I ever knew. He speaks differently, and I can't understand him. He gets angry when I don't understand what he wants, and then he hits me. I taste my own blood for the first time as my lip bleeds. How much more can I stand? When we finally stop for the night, I almost welcome going into the cage. The white man gives me water, but no scraps this time. There's long green grass coming up through the bars of the cage, so I eat as the buffalo do. Stop! This hurts my teeth. The sun has scorched my skin, and the rocks have torn my shoe and cut my foot, and now the night bugs are biting. I retreat to the back of the cage again, and I rock back and forth, seeking comfort in my own space. Another white man comes. I don't know what the two of them are saying. I see the scalps hanging from his belt. One with long black hair like my dad's. One braided like my mom's. No, it can't be true. Killing them wasn't enough. Tears roll down my cheeks, but I make no sound. The new man lays some furs down and then looks my way. They point at me and speak again. Do I face the same fate as my family? Will I finally escape this life? He opens my cage, grabs my wrist, drags me out and pushes me to the ground, and puts his hand around my throat, and I know what is coming next. Please no, I breathe out, searing pain again, and then everything fades to black. I breathe in and my eyes open. I'm back in the cage. I breathe out. My small bit of hope fades. I still did not die. Sleep comes once more. Suddenly, with a gasp, I breathe in as if I had been holding my breath, and I awaken to someone touching my arm. Instinctively, I pull back, and then I realize it is my husband, Michael. I'm on the floor of our bedroom with excruciating hip pain, and my teeth are aching. Was that a dream? It felt so real. Did I time warp from another lifetime? Do I even believe in past lives? I was experiencing something from generations past that was now up for me to deal with. Michael gently coaxes me off the floor and has me lie down next to him and tell him about what happened. He begins doing energy work on me as I slow my breathing. Why had I gone to the floor to sleep? Because that is where I felt I belonged. It was where the child slept. Despite Michael's ministrations, I felt, let somebody else in. Besides Michael's ministrations, I felt my dream pulling me back into itself. I breathe in and breathe out, and I'm back as a Native American, though now as a grown-up. I've come so completely under the white men's control that they no longer cage me, and I do not run. I have become precise in my actions to keep them pleased and avoid punishment. They prostitute me for trade, and they use me for their own pleasure. I learned to remove my thoughts from my body during these times so I do not have to feel what happens to me. I become pregnant, and they beat me until I lose the baby. I stop feeling and become indifferent to life, doing what I must to survive. I breathe in and vaguely remember someone speaking to me in another language. I understand what they're saying, but upon awakening, my understanding's gone. Intuitively, I realized they were speaking Lakota, which to my amazement is a daughter of the American language, the language that Jesus spoke, and from the tools of Aramaic forgiveness.
Aramaic,
Pardon?
the Aramaic language.
That's what I said. It is a daughter of the Aramaic language and the language Jesus spoke and from which the tools Aramaic forgiveness come. Is it a coincidence that the place we are presently staying is on an ancient Native American burial ground? At one point during the energy work, Michael placed his hand on my upper chest, and it felt as if his hand was pressing on my throat. I began choking, panicked, and grabbed his hand to pull it away. Gasping for air, I came back to the present. whereupon Michael told me he had just had a vision of a dark-skinned child with bad teeth and a rope around her neck. As we processed the visions, I recalled how my grandmother used to say she thought I had a goiter. She could see a thickening around the base of my throat, and I often felt it choking me, and yet the doctors always said nothing was there. I married for the first time at 16 and found myself in an extremely abusive predicament. My first husband, Cain, parenthesis, this name is changed to protect the guilty, parenthesis. He did not use a rope around my neck to keep me in line, but my reaction was the same as if he had. I began doing what I needed to do to avoid abuse, and yet could not fathom an escape. I now see where my drive to be a perfectionist may have been born, and I can also imagine that my obsessive-compulsive behavior may have been an attempt to control my space and keep myself safe. My miscarriage in that marriage may have been my unconscious effort to survive, as how could I bring another soul into the world, locking us both into an inescapable relationship? It is no wonder that my relationship with Cain, in which I was raped, treated like a prostitute, and sexually misused in other ways, would result in my carrying fear of being abused mentally and emotionally into this present life. Smelling a sudden and powerful odor, I rose. I went and took a shower. Afterward, my body still had an odor, so I took another shower. I was about to take a third when Michael assured me that the odor was not real, but a phantom stench from the past. He assured me that this odor was part of my past and not something I could wash away. Breathe deeply. It has been 10 years since Michael first worked on me, and I still deal with pain in my hips that seems to grow deeper and more intense as time goes by. I cannot tell if it is in my hip bones, my pelvic bones, muscles, or my organs. My entire pelvic area feels tight and locked down. After sitting for a while, I feel as if I had to unhinge my hips to stand up straight. And at night, the deep throbbing ache is so intense that it wakes me. A part of me feared that this pain meant I was ill. Fear kept me from speaking about it or even thinking about it, as I was afraid I might create some disease if it wasn't there already. However, ignoring it didn't make it go away. I went for x-rays and was told that everything was perfectly normal. Michael still does energy work on me to ease this pain, and he also assists me in addressing the real underlying cause. I've processed through a multitude of issues, all related to trauma in my pelvic and reproductive area, starting when my periods began at age 11, and that included horrific monthly pain. I've processed through past sexual abuse, endometriosis, pregnancy complications, the loss of 2 babies, ovarian cysts, a fibroid tumor, hysterectomy, repeated incisions, and scar tissue. Pain that includes doubling over and struggling to find a comfortable position at night remind me of struggles in my past. I know without a doubt I am physically manifesting earlier mental and emotional states of insecurity and fear, as if my survival is still in jeopardy. I experience feelings of vulnerability, lack of trust, anxiety about finding a safe space, and fear of unworthiness. My sleep is often disturbed by bad dreams. I catch myself rocking back and forth when nervous and withdraw by default. I experience depression and blame myself for uncomfortable situations I find myself in. I suffer with nausea and dizziness and even have suicidal thoughts when I feel trapped or cannot resolve something. This book is not about the small Native American child or how her story ended. This book is about how, with the help of others and the use of the tools of Aramaic forgiveness, I am shedding light on early painful situations, removing energies that never belonged in my system, and gradually returning to who I was created to be. While I heal, I am healing the trauma of my generations, past, present, and future, one breath at a time. And now I extend the same invitation to you, my reader. If you feel the pull to begin your own journey back to who you were created to be, welcome. The tools are here. The path is open. The breath is waiting. Come with me. Let us heal our generations together.
Well, yesterday, sweetie, you had to stop and breathe, and that's what I'm doing right now. I brought up more for me than it did for you today.
Ditto. Me too.
Hi,
So
Sally.
gorgeous.
Hi, Susan.
No breathing with you. Holding a space, and so glad that so much of that's behind you now.
Oh, yeah.
Behind us.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been a powerful 10 years.
Does anybody have any comments or questions before we go any further?
I mostly have.
Very well. Sorry, Sally. I just wanted to say Jeanie got through that really well this time. And it was
Yeah,
beautiful.
yesterday wasn't, but today
know.
that was easier.
Yep.
Well, we're all breathing with you, and
Thank you.
I just pulled into the gym on my usual routine to, keep my muscles strong, and I stopped here in the parking space and listened. I couldn't move a muscle, and tears are just pouring down my face, and I so resonate with every word. Yeah, and I'll have to just be with this until I have a more sound comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll offer that over the years, Jeannie describes the pain in her hips, and in probably the first 2 years after that workshop, we did a still point breathing session, and several people in the workshop, Terry Bowling was there, several people in the workshop after the still point session had said that they had Native American spirits come to them asking if they could pass through them to the light while they were breathing. And we found out after we talked to the owner of the property that it had been a Native American burial ground. And so probably for about 2 years after that initial experience, the hip pain was probably about 2 years. Jeannie was pretty intense most of the time. And we'd breathe through, and layer after layer after layer would peel off. It's probably been several months now since you've had that sort of intensity, and you've probably gone through, I've never kept track, but probably 10 or 15 rounds of that would last anywhere from 2 days to, I don't know, 15 days, 2 weeks, something like that. And clear up, work with it. I do a lot of pressure and a lot of breathing, and a lot of breathing has gone into those hips.
Yeah. And it had gotten a whole lot better until I started writing the book. And then it's like it triggered the next layer. And so it comes and goes. But for the most part, I would say it's 90% better. They started hurting a little bit once, the book got closer to being finished. And yesterday when I was reading, one of my legs went into a cramp. But so it's just the body letting go of energies that have been stored there for too long, and just breathing and letting it go through and letting it pass, being with it. But like I said, it had been so intense at one time that I went and had x-rays done because I just knew there was something going on. And they said everything was normal.
When you think of generational patterns, one of the things that Jeannie's mom did when she started to do this work, she went to one of Jeannie's workshops, and she shared, although I don't know how fully or honestly she shared, but that when she was a child, her mother was single and worked in a restaurant, and next door there was a theater that her mother would take her to, and she'd spend hours there while her mother worked in order that they could eat. And the danger she was in from strange men and having to hide out in that theater, I don't know if she ever shared honey, if anything actually happened, but
She didn't
generational
share that
patterns.
anything had happened, but she said, that she hid in the bathroom half the time instead of being in the actual movie itself.
I can remember when you shared that with me that I had the intuitive hit that she'd been molested there.
Yeah, she didn't share that. But
And when you think of the insanity that's going on in our culture between men and women, it's time to clean it up. It's time for healing. So thank everyone for taking one breath at a time with Jeanie as she shares this with us.
So then the way that I've laid the book out, like I had said yesterday, it's actually in 3 sections with 4 chapters in each section. And at the beginning of each of those sections, I don't know how well this will show up, but I have a page I have pictures at the top of each chapter. And this one right here is actually me when I was about 2. But so I have kind of like the first section is personal stories. And so these 2 pages here, it says what to expect. The first 4 chapters of this book tell my personal stories that formed my beliefs, many of which needed correction and healing. Chapter 1 is the journey to my realization. Each stage of my life brought challenges that seemed overwhelming at times, yet each step I took was part of a greater journey that shaped who I am today. What once felt like obstacles, I now see as gifts guiding me toward deeper awareness and healing. I am grateful for life itself, for the experiences that have refined me, and for every person whose path has intersected with mine. Their love, support, and presence have been vital companions as I continue the journey back to my authentic state of simply being. And chapter 2 is called Who Was I? Who Did I Think I Was? Isn't that the ultimate question? For much of my life, those questions lay beneath the surface of every experience. This chapter follows my journey through various stages of distorted thought and the fractured identity that resulted. At different times, I have seen myself as nobody, as used goods, as an automaton, as not truly alive, as stupid and a failure, as a lost soul, as visionless, as invisible. I have lived through feeling hopeful and yet afraid, complete in motherhood yet busy and burdened, and even a fraud. As you can see, I put many labels on myself and played many roles. And yet at the heart of it all, I've always known
And we know who you are.
I've always known it was possible to change. In my book, I tell of how my sense of myself shifted over time as I learned to see beyond distortions and return to the truth of who I really am. Chapter 3 is Face the Demons. For years, I believed I had to put my struggles behind me. I relegated my memories to my unconscious and assumed they would no longer affect me, not realizing that each memory still had an influence. These memories lay stored in my body as nonverbal imprints carried silently in my tissues and cells. No amount of thinking or rationalizing would erase them. As it is not only the mind that stores trauma, the body remembers as well. To truly heal, I had to own the demons of fear and anger that were still buried within me. Only by bringing them into the light could I begin to relieve the physical and emotional pain they continued to cause. And chapter 4 is Lessons Learned. The truth is that though I really do want to heal, part of me continues to cling to my story and to my identity as being a victim. Healing asks me to loosen that grip. Our roots may include the hurt elements from our forebears that are stored in our DNA, but they are also our grounding and our strength. Roots anchor us. giving stability when the storms of life press against us. The winds may bend us, but they also challenge us to grow stronger and to push our roots deeper into the soil or soul of our being. Yes, I am learning to be thankful for those winds that blow against me because they teach me resilience. And I am learning that I do not have to weather these storms alone. Healing requires support, companionship, and the willingness to let others stand with me as I journey within. And then it begins the chapters. So I'll pause and see if anyone has anything they want to ask or say.
Yeah, I'd like to put a piece in the puzzle here. And that is to recognize that these types of issues, and of course, I'm not talking about Jeanie, I'm talking about both of us. Of course, I came in with my pile of issues to this relationship. We've been together 22 years now. And once we, actually after the first conversation that we had, we met online, didn't meet each other several weeks after that, but we met online, and after the first conversation, neither of us ever looked at anybody again or had any interest in anyone again. And when we finally met and then we decided to get married, one of the issues that came up, and it was something that belonged to both of us, but fortunately it was one that I had done some working through. But one of Jeanie's power person dynamics she discovered, and maybe you want to share the story of how that unfolded with the power person dynamic, was leaving. Not based on anything you would have imagined. It was a discovery that Jeanie made after a pretty significant amount of work. But it was an issue that came up in our relationship. And there came a point where when we, stepped into the relationship commitment that we have in our Healing Through Relationships workshop, that we had to agree that we had an actual commitment and that leaving had to be taken off the table, even though it was like one of the strongest power person dynamics in each of our minds. And so maybe sharing a little bit, Jeanie, about how you discovered that,
That's actually
how that was a power person dynamic for you.
in the book.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe it's not time to reveal yet then. But anyway, just to realize that, as Jeanie details this, and each of us has, whatever our story is or whatever's unresolved, those things are going to come up and they are going to tend to be projected into our brain's image of not only ourselves, but each other. And they're going to want to tend to take over and run our behavior. And one of the things that we need to do is to overcome, the idea of the commitment in the Healing Through Relationships work is, here's the personal code I choose to use. And I'm going to use this personal code in the context of this relationship to face and change everything in my mind that makes me want to go in another direction. And so making a commitment doesn't mean, oh, now everything's cool. Making a commitment means, and the tighter, the stronger the commitment is, the deeper the dynamics are that are going to come up in your face that need to be refused, forgiven, and worked through. Just as an understanding point that that's just part of the process.
Anybody else? Chapter 1. Oh.
I was just reinforcing, see if anyone else has a thought or comment, anything that you are relating to or that you see you've worked through that might support the community in each person's process. Please feel free to hit your mute button and share. Word, sweetie.
Okay. Chapter 1, The Journey to My Realization. In my present work, I refer to a newborn baby as an example of pure being or pure love. In our culture, expectations are put on the small child early on, whereupon the child begins to think she is not enough in herself and that she must do something more to receive approval. The result is that approval and love become connected, and the true meaning of love vanishes. We have all gone through this, moving from the newborn state, which is what I call a state of pure being, to an adapted state of what I call non-being. Often we get so lost in this non-being state that we never experience being our true self again. Okay. I was lost in this way for many years, but I was blessed with many people who supported me as I made my way back to becoming my more conscious, whole self. My mother was from Kentucky and my father was from Virginia. Both attended Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee, where they first met. When they first met, Mom was still in high school. Mom and a girlfriend were on their way to church one evening when it started to rain heavily, and they ducked under the awning of the local movie theater, and standing there were my dad and one of his college friends who were about to go into the movie. Introductions were made all around, and soon my father and mother started dating. 3 years later, they were married. My mother and father had challenges in the beginning. It was the end of the Korean conflict and the beginning of the Cold War when my dad graduated from college. Fear over the looming conflict in Vietnam was growing. Nuclear weapons were now on the scene, and the selective service, the draft, was reenacted to fill gaps where there were not enough volunteers. My father's uncle talked my parents into moving to Charles City, Virginia, where teachers were in high demand. They knew that if Dad became a teacher, he might be able to avoid the draft. Mom quit college and they moved. But after only a month, Dad was drafted into the service anyway. And Mom found herself pregnant with my brother. Someone in? My mom had to give up hope of returning to college then when I arrived, which was only 14 months after my brother was born. Times were hard as Dad was still in the service and facing the possibility of having to fight in a war. Mom managed alone with 2 babies, and money was tight. My grandmother, my mom's mom, moved in with us when I was a little over 2 years old. Once Dad finished his time in the Army, we moved to the east coast of Virginia, and things began to settle into some resemblance of a normal life. My 2 younger brothers came along 6 and 8 years after me, so we were almost like 2 different sets of kids in one family. We did not have a lot of luxuries, but our difficulties actually drew everyone closer. I do not remember much before the age of 3, but we always acted lovingly toward one another. For example, we never left home or went to bed without hugging and kissing everyone in the house, even if some in the house were visitors. However, even with all the love that was evident, I began telling myself that my parents favored my older brother. I began to mistrust the adults in my life, including my parents, and to distrust my own feelings. We lived and went to school in the city, but we spent summers on the family farm in the country. We learned how to milk cows, bale hay, grate tobacco. We fed chickens, gathered eggs, slaughtered our own cows, pigs, and chickens, worked in the garden, and helped with farm chores. We took baths in a galvanized tub that sat in the kitchen floor, and the toilet was in an outhouse. I think my family thought this arrangement provided us the best of both worlds, and we did learn to be thankful for everything we had. Granny, my maternal grandmother, lived with us for over 25 years. She and I shared a bedroom, and she took me with her whenever she went to visit her other children and siblings. I felt closer to her than to my own parents, and felt I could confide in her. Even if I complained, she never told on me. My 3 brothers had one room. My parents had a room. How 7 of us managed it with one bathroom is amazing to me. Whether we were in the city or in the country, there were always a lot of children around, and we would play all over the neighborhood well until past dark. sure that we were safe. Everyone looked out for everyone else's children, and we knew to obey another kid's parents if we were playing in their yard. Our community exemplified what is meant by the African proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child." Despite the happy scenes that I have painted, I must now add that I had many fears and private struggles. I loved having the friendship and care of Granny, but I missed having my own space. I resented that my parents seemed to favor my brother over me and began to mistrust people. I felt alone and as if I had to prove myself by being excellent at everything. But then I felt guilty when my assertiveness was discouraged. I had become a human doer instead of a human being. Doing being the way that I tried to please everyone. I'm minded that life was not going as I planned, and the little I heard about how our country and the world was going seemed to match how I felt. It was as if the whole world were in a bad way and suffering. I remained mistrustful through the next stages of life. I was successful in school, easily met the academic demands placed on me. I stayed on the honor roll and was one of the best students in class, and yet feelings of inferiority remained, magnified by my inability to understand or adjust to the changes that early puberty was now bringing on, which my parents had not explained to me. Though I desperately wanted friends, my parents did not allow me to participate in many of the activities that other teens enjoyed, such as dances and movies. They did not let me wear shorts. I was not allowed to wear makeup. My clothes, being handmade, were different from what the other students were wearing. The feeling of being lost in this world eventually drove me to find acceptance elsewhere. I became attached to the first young man who showed me attention, resulting in my getting married and leaving home at 16. You've heard the saying, out of the frying pan and into the fire? Well, this is applicable here. Troublesome times arrived at double speed. My new husband, Cain, began to deal drugs and turned out to be physically and mentally abusive. Despite this turmoil and strife, and though I remained in high school and graduated in the top 10% of my class, I felt isolated, frightened, and at a loss. In the second year of our marriage, I became pregnant. Cain was away, and I was without a car. When in my 4th month, I began to miscarry. Not knowing where to turn, I swallowed my pride and called my parents for help. They drove an hour to where I lived and took me to a doctor. After the miscarriage, they took me home with them, offering support and never once saying, "I told you so."
Breathing with you, sweetheart.
Divorced at 19 and back to living on my own, I struggled with depression and loneliness. My young adulthood became like a roller coaster, a ride between intimacy and isolation as I tried to find that one real relationship that my soul longed for, not realizing that something in me was broken. I found myself trying to help, i.e., fix other people. I remarried after several years, and after much trying to become pregnant, discovered that the internal damage caused by the previous physical abuse and miscarriage had made me unable to conceive. After 9 years and surgery to repair my insides, I did become pregnant, but this pregnancy was filled with difficulties. In my 4th month, just as happened 13 years earlier, I began to miscarry. Then a miracle of all miracles. It turned out that I was carrying twins in separate sacks. And while I did lose my baby girl, my baby son was holding on. I was told to remain bedfast until my 8th month after which time we were confident that he would survive. Our son Ryan arrived healthy and whole, and the whole world came to life. Richard Bach, in his book, Running from Safety, An Adventure of the Spirit, he says, if it's never our fault, we can't take responsibility for it. If we can't take responsibility for it, we will always be its victim. I was done with being the victim. I had gotten back on the right track with new purpose in my life, was learning to appreciate myself, and was beginning to return to that being state of love that is their birthright. My second marriage ended after 24 years. But by this time, I was a different and healthier person. I had worked for a pharmaceutical company for 16 years and diligently moved up through the ranks to positions that a person without a college degree would not have been able to achieve. I managed my responsibilities well, was proud of my success, and knew my performance was superior to most employees. I had become financially stable enough to take care of Ryan and me when Ron, Ryan's dad, was involved in an automobile accident that made him partially disabled and no longer able to pay child support. Since Ron and I had been able to maintain an amicable relationship after our divorce, we happily shared in the life of our son, our pride and joy. We participated together in his events throughout his high school and college years, and Ryan matured into an awesome young man. Years later, Ron was diagnosed with cancer, and we all pulled together for him. By the time he passed, our lesser storms had made us strong enough to face this biggest storm. By the time my son went off to college, I had gained a feeling of completeness and was ready to take my own development to a deeper level. Just as I was beginning to realize that we all need someone to teach us what we do not know about ourselves, Dr. Michael Ryce, an author, speaker, and teacher, came into my life. He and I became dear friends, but soon thereafter, he became my mentor in my process of self-realization. He is now my husband. During this journey, I unearthed many demons and dared to face the deep darkness and depression that had resulted from the abuse I experienced from ages 16 to 19. I recognized the connection between an abusive past and my fragile mental condition described in the first story that I read, A Life Remembered or Imagined, of this book. I knew it was time for me and for all of my generations to be healed. I returned to college, graduated summa cum laude, and obtained my degree in psychology as the first step toward becoming a counselor who would take her work outside the spiritual arena into the wider world. I am now able to.
She did all of that while we were on the road, which was amazing.
I am now able to reflect on my life with contentment, joy, and wonder most of the time, and am better at turning crisis into vehicles of learning. My chosen path and passion are now to assist others in moving back to their being along with me. I continue my self-healing while offering spiritual guidance, teaching classes, and conducting one-on-one sessions to help people move through difficult times. I assist people in seeing that there is always a possibility for health and happiness, no matter what has gone before. To modify a quote from Richard Bach's Illusions, I am now teaching best what I most need to learn. I recognize that what I am doing is valuable and can make a difference in other people's lives. I acknowledge that I am beautiful inside and out, something I had denied for many years. I've been told repeatedly that I have a sweet spirit that draws people into my space. I'm now able to accept that compliment. Daniel Levinson said, "The past and the future are in the present." If this is so, then we can use whatever is happening in the present as a gift that invites growth. I began offering a program called Healing the Whole Woman, where I introduced Dr. Michael Ryce's work into my own using my own experiences as examples, including those that I had kept secret for many years. I teach that in order to be whole, all parts of ourselves must be addressed: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. The ultimate goal of the course is to bring participants into experiencing love, God, regardless of what is happening in their world. This includes honoring truth and replacing our perceived victimhood with taking full responsibility for our lives. Even though the journey may seem far from over, Ralph Waldo Emerson says life is a journey, not a destination. Richard Bach wrote in The Bridge Across Forever, there are no mistakes. The events we bring upon ourselves, no matter how unpleasant, are necessary in order to learn what we need to learn. Whatever steps we take, they're necessary to reach the places we've chosen to go. Our most difficult challenges become our path to realization. They are gifts that brought us to where we are today. We move naturally from lamenting and blaming to being thankful for those experiences, for life itself, and for everyone whose paths we have crossed, especially those whose love and support shepherded us on our way back to being. That's the end of chapter 1.
Powerful. Nice work, sweetheart. And thank you, Susan Bingham, for the support you were with Jeanie and
Yes,
editing and putting us into helping to massage this into the form it's in. It's awesome.
absolutely. We've got 1 minute, but we'll take time if somebody has questions or comments.
Or more if we need it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's everybody doing listening to that? I had several places where I had to breathe for sure. I acknowledge you for your courage, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Put that
Right.
out there for the
Yes,
fact
Susan?
that
I just wanted to say, the many times that we've been through that book, it is as fresh as at the beginning and as moving.
Thank you. And Susan and I went back and forth for 3 months?
I
I
have.
think you guys squeezed about 8 months in that 3 months.
No, it was about October when we started. So
Right, that's what I said. In that 3 months, you guys squeezed about 8 months in there.
yeah, that's
You
true.
didn't stop.
Yeah, it was
Jeanie-
fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And Jeanie's book was so compelling that my own project, which is very compelling, I just said, heck with this. I'm going with Jeanie.
Well,
Thank you.
definitely opens a space.
I just want to share my congratulations. I applaud you in every way for your courage and your tenacity and your grace and for never giving up.
Yeah,
And here you are birthing the first book. I'm so proud of you.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will continue tomorrow. Bring someone with you. Oh, Cammie, you unmuted. Go for it.
Yeah, let me switch though to the other one so I can see you. Okay.
You were muted. There you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that one that you first where you can tap the first page. I always end up turning it off because I scroll over to see whoever I'm talking to. And it unmutes it.
Oh,
So I was curious. I read half the book yesterday. Um, um, And I was curious when I was reading this chapter when you were talking about when Ryan was born,
Right.
and I heard hope when Ryan was born and purpose. And I was wondering if that was true for you or if that was my own protection.
No, I did read that. And actually, one of the things that I will address in a later chapter is that I was putting like my purpose in life was him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
That's
how it came across? Are you there?
yeah. You were saying so it came across
It came across that he was my purpose.
that but I didn't know because I felt that way when Alex was born, and the
Hmm.
whole time he was little, I never had suicidal thoughts once, and I had struggled with them since I was 15. And actually doing my work, I realized that even for like probably all the way back to 5 or earlier, um, just in different terms because I didn't know the word suicide.
Right.
And you had mentioned suicidal thoughts, and I
Yeah.
was just curious because, well, so one of the things that uh, it came back after Alex grew up and moved away. They came back. Um, and as I was reading and like in your job and stuff, so actually when I went back to school after Alex got older, well, I had to support us as you did too. Um, and uh, then I found purpose in that. And I was very happy in school. I loved school.
Yeah, I did.
Um, yeah, and I kind of that came through too to me. Um, and it really has me wondering more, putting things into place about um purpose and how those things were my purpose at the time. Like they gave me purpose, but then they
Really like a cover up, staying busy and being focused somewhere else helps you to ignore what's going on inside.
exactly.
There's
Ex
actually, and it's jumping ahead, but one of the worksheets I do is on feeling complete in motherhood. And at the end of it, I won't read the whole thing, um, but where you set a goal in number 7, I acknowledge us for creating truth and perfect love. I hold the space for you, Ryan, to grow into an awesome, independent young man. I affirm that I am the best mom I can be, and I release the emotional attachment that had created an outsized dependence on you for my sense of meaning. I am here because God breathed the breath of life into me. I have a reason to be here, and I am willing to clear out my issues so you, Ryan, don't have to face distorted thoughts like I did. I am blessed by you. So
yeah,
eventually got to the part where it's like, while I tried to claim him as my purpose for being here, it was that was years after all of the abuse and stuff, and I still hadn't faced it. And so I was still looking for total acceptance. And it's like, even with a spouse, sometimes you feel like you're not totally 100%, you know, what they need or want. But with a baby, it's like, you know, they're part of you. They're the only one that's heard your heartbeat from the inside.
right,
And,
right,
they're dependent on you. They need you. And that's part of, we replace what we think is love. Sometimes we substitute and say, well, if I'm approved of, or if I'm just needed. then that'll be enough.
Yeah. That's exactly where I'm kind of at, is looking at, after we talked about parentifying children and stuff, and I don't think I did that to Alex, or with Alex or whatever. And yet, actually, there has been a couple things come clear to me that was a little bit of what I had done here and there. Talking to him about things that were not appropriate for a mom to maybe talk to him about, in the name of honesty and transparency. But yeah, this is really coming. Oh, thank you. It's
Thank you.
really kind of helping me move. It's been just kind of playing around in my mind. And what you had just read, I guess, that is to come, is, I probably have to read the rest of the book today. And I know you had suggested to take it page by page, and I will, and plan on doing the book study and all of the book club and all of that.
Are you breathing?
Yeah,
Are you breathing?
Yes, I'm stopping and breathing. That was one of the things I was talking about in group Sunday. Was things that I'm seeing that I just never thought in myself to do, and how
Breathe.
how it maybe affected him.
Breathe into that. Breathe into it. Conscious, connected to love, breath. You go back into the ancient scriptures, you hear the Creator talking to human beings, and the Creator says, without vision, my people perish. Purpose and vision are synonymous. You'll notice that the bottom line of the purpose worksheet is to create a vision.
Yeah, I'm doing some I'm dabbling. So,
It's hard to understand your words.
And the phone line's cracking, breaking up.
Oh, it might be my voice cracking.
There you go. Stay close to the microphone, like that we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, and my voice lowering.
Breathe.
Really, all I ever wanted was to be a wife and a mom. And I still don't think that I've pulled my life back together since Mark died. And it's been 20 years. It's like, because it was the happiest time of my life. But how does, because it was all I ever wanted, and now looking at it from this light of using them for a purpose in some respects, and how that am I on target on this? That it is the using them for a purpose is
So, how many times in your life did your power person communicate, or did you take the message from your power person that you were using them?
um no, that they were using me. Oh
Okay,
my.
there you
I
go.
was supposed to be the
There's
hero. I was the baby, and everybody else was such screw ups that I was supposed to be the one to fix everything. I was supposed to, oh gosh, I was supposed to do great and amazing things to.
so, so there's your power person worksheet.
Yeah.
And because someone is a part of our purpose, I mean, that's a construct of your mind. That's just a structural reality that the mind can generate. But because someone is part of my purpose and my expression, doesn't have anything to do with using them. You know, what
Okay.
an awesome gift that you were there for your son, being a mom, supplying him with support and care and the presence of love. Nothing to do with using him. But when that power person dynamic is there unresolved, the mind generates that kind of a structure. So
My,
I'd be forgiving us to that one. Worksheets
yes,
on
I
that one.
completely forgot about that for
Yeah,
years.
yeah. The power
And I
person
felt
worksheet.
guilty because I didn't achieve these things that my mother had planned for me to make her worthy,
Yeah.
was what it, to make her a worthy mother. Ah,
So
wow.
breathing with you, and notice we talked about doing the power person worksheet about, I don't know, what's that, 2 weeks ago now? It might be time.
The power person worksheet 2 weeks ago on
No, purpose worksheet.
purpose. Oh yeah, I,
Notice what's happening with your breath.
I'm actually starting to come up with things to write down on the page.
Cool. Sweet.
For months,
Why
I haven't been able to come up with anything
don't you
because,
crack that power person dynamic? It'll probably just open the floodgates.
uh,
And then when you open the floodgate, you begin to align everything. Remember, energy comes through purpose. That workshop is purpose, personal power. Personal power is the ability to be continuously aware of and function of our highest guidance. But you got to have a vision of your highest guidance. What's your purpose at this stage in your life? Line that up and watch the life flow through you. Remember, life is love flowing through a cell. When one's functioning out of being, love flows through the cell and provides the personal power to live a truly human life.
thank you so much, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that's a full-on power person worksheet there. Oh, and speaking of worksheets, I love, love, love the new one that you have in there. Um, in the book. For whatever that's worth.
And listen to yourself, Kimmy. Listen to
Yeah,
the end of this and notice the shift that just happened. You're talking with breath.
yeah.
Listen to before just the last 2 minutes, and you're talking without breath. That's the difference.
Well, I moved to gratitude.
Okay.
So I moved from that pain and guilt, the guilt, to gratitude for it coming up and being able to be able to see this so that I can process it. And in the processing, I don't think that I passed that. Well, okay, I wonder if I passed it on to Alex, but I don't see that in his behavior. Either way, it's going to open up something for him and huge amounts for me, obviously. So I'm just so appreciative.
And notice that you're speaking without holding your breath. That's what you've been doing for the last 5 minutes. Prior to that, virtually every time, if you listen to all the conversations you've had when you've come on either the Codependent Show or this show, you're speaking without breath. Hold on to that. That's your most precious gift.
I have a hard time coming up with the words.
Yeah, but you can
Even
have a difficult
though-
time coming. You can have a difficult time coming up with words and breathe, or you can have a difficult time coming up with words and holding your breath. And what I'm noticing is that just about every time when I think back of it, how often I've said to you, breathe with it. You're thinking about the words, and that's cool. We don't have to have all the words all the time, but you're doing it with breath in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah,
But
called life.
trying to put words to things and breathe at the same time, it's like I can't focus on the breath and think at the same time other than think about the breath. And the time issue that I have, because I always feel like I'm taking up too much time when I speak.
So notice that it's easy for you to think about the words and breathe. And when you categorize it before as, I can't think about the words and breathe at the same time, my offering would be what that really means is that I've been holding my breath so that the words that I'm not willing, the issues that I'm not willing to deal with, I can keep them hidden and try to figure out in my head, in the safe part of my biocomputer, what I want to say, rather than accessing the whole biocomputer. And you just started 5 minutes ago accessing the whole biocomputer.
Thank you for pointing that out. I keep wanting to pin it on, being shut down and not allowed to speak.
Yeah.
And rather than owning it and it being about me not wanting to see what's going to come out of my mouth.
So celebrating with you and breathing with you.
Thank you, guys. Ooh.
All right.
All right. Hope
All right,
everyone has a wonderful day.
All right.
We will continue tomorrow.
Hey, bring a stranger with you, please. Call somebody and say, hey, come and join me. Send them the link. Have a blessed one.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.